So last week, I was in our Boston studios all week, taping a bunch of episodes that you're going to freaking love. And on Friday morning, before work, I went over to Mass General Hospital to have a mammogram. And before I jump into the story, huge shout out to the incredible nurse, Deirdre, who took care of me, and the team of doctors who then did the ultrasound that followed the mammogram. And while I was there, I'm standing against that machine, and they're telling, don't breathe, hold in. And you're like, oh my gosh, my boob is like now like a freaking pancake. And I'm standing there not breathing, and it hits me. I've never told you this story. The one about how I got breast implants, and then everything went horribly wrong. It became this huge ordeal. I'm still dealing with it. It was a massive health scare too. I wanted to talk about this for two reasons. First of all, to spread awareness about something called breast implant illness. And please, if you have anybody in your life with implants or that are thinking about getting them removed or thinking about getting them, please, please, please share this episode with them. I wish I knew everything I'm about to share with you way back when. Would have changed the course of the last 6 years of my life. But the bigger topic has nothing to do with implants. It has to do with regret. How do you handle regrets? How do you learn to listen to your intuition so you don't do dumb things that you then regret? And the single biggest takeaway, which I'm going to emphasize to you over and over and over again, if you're struggling with something, do not struggle alone. Because I learned the hard way that struggling in silence just makes the thing you regret even more painful and the shame even bigger. So let's get into this. And let's just start with the most obvious question. Why did I get breast implants? It's a great question. And, as I sit here now that I'm 56, I did this when I was 47. So this is now like almost 9 years ago. And I think about where I was in my life at the age of 47. I hated the way my body looked. And I'm a very health conscious person. I want to live a long and vibrant life. I take care of myself. I eat organic foods. I eat local. I exercise just about every single day. We talk about health a lot on this show. I'm not putting a ton of chemicals on my face in terms of the products or the makeup that I use. I buy natural fiber clothing. You're kind of getting the gist of this, right? But I hated the way my boobs looked so much. I didn't even stop to think about how off-brand it is to take that good of care of your body and then go, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these chemical balls and I'm going to stick them in my body and they're going to somehow help me feel healthier. Like I wasn't even thinking straight. I hated the way my body looked so much. And so at the age of 47, I've had 3 kids. I've breastfed all of my kids. There's also something called gravity. And I don't know what your body looks like, but I'm going to tell you what my body looked like when I was 47 years old. What were once perky, amazing, kind of size B, I would say, boobs, they started to look like dirty gym socks that were hanging off my chest. Another visual that I could give you, kind of a elastic rubber band stretched out, or how about a cow tongue just laying right there? They were so bad that as I would stand there brushing my teeth in the morning and I'd be looking at myself, my nipples were pointing down and in opposite directions. And look, I'm like a confident person. I'm a very body positive person. And so feeling that self-conscious about my body, especially when I was naked, I'm going to confess something to you I'm not sure I've ever told you before. At this point in my life, with these like skin sacks hanging off my chest, when Chris would walk into the bathroom, I felt like I wanted to cover myself up. Now, he never said anything to me about it. He loves me just as I am. This was up in my head. This was me starting to obsess about something in my body that I just was like, this is awful. And here's another thing that it was impacting. If I'm being truly frank with you, it was really impacting my ability to be present during sex. Because what I was present to, especially when I was on top, is that I've got like these bags hanging off me. And so I just got to the point where I'm like, I am so tired of complaining about this that I decided I'm going to do something about it. Now, here's the first mistake I made. I did not do my research. I was a complete idiot about this. And I think when you get obsessed about something that you want to fix, like I got to fix it, logic goes out the window. And so once I got into my mind, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get some small implants that might lift these gym socks up and turn them into like baseballs. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for any massive big implant. I was just looking for perky, like baseball size breasts. That's what I was looking for. And so I talked to a friend of mine who had recently gotten implants. She looked fantastic. They were bigger than what I was wanting to get, but she loved her surgeon. And so I went to this one surgeon, did not even do my homework, did not interview 3 or 4 people, did not talk to a lot of people that have implants and hear about their experience, what they regret, what they didn't. I just went with the first person, complete idiot. I'm owning it. Okay. I get in there and I casually kind of say to this doc, what about a lift? And he kind of looks at my dirty gym socks there and he's like, oh, no, that's not going to work. You just have a yard of skin and absolutely no mass. I wouldn't be able to lift that up. Like you'd lift that up and basically you'd have no boobs and nipples sewn against your chest. It's not going to work. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't get a second opinion. Not at all. And then check this out. You want to hear the irony of this whole thing. Miss, I'm healthy. I'm taking care of myself. So let's put some chemically laden, like silicone balls underneath my muscle. I chose this product called the Gummy Bear Implant. And I chose that product because, get this, the teardrop shape and the textured kind of cover on them looks more natural. We want the fake things that you're doing to look more natural. I'm like, I'm in. Teardrop shape. It's got this sort of texturing on it. That sounds great. Is that what my friend got? Oh, no, that's not what she got. She got something else. No problem. I'm not going to do my research here either. And what I knew is that I liked the fact that they, quote, looked natural. And I also liked the fact that if, heaven forbid, something were to happen and it were to rupture or somehow tear, that saline wouldn't be leaking through my body, right? Because when they named it the, quote, gummy bear implant, it really was like a gummy bear. If you like chomp down on a gummy bear and you get that jelly, that's what it looked like. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I go in for the surgery. I'm all excited. I figure I am going to wake up and I am a whole new Mel Robbins. I'm going to have these discreet little baseball boobs. Nobody's going to know that I have done this. I'm going to feel like vibrant and I'm going to be proud and my sex life is going to be amazing. And this is going to be absolutely incredible. When I woke up in my own bed after kind of the medication finally wore off, I knew then I had made a huge mistake. And I'm not quite sure why I knew then that I had made a huge mistake because I couldn't see what it looked like yet. I remember distinctly waking up and I'm kind of coming out of the anesthesia and Chris is sitting on the bed next to me. And I said, how does it look? And he goes, I haven't seen it yet. And he goes, but it looks big. And I said, it feels big. I literally felt like I had basketballs on my chest. And maybe it's because it was so swollen and there was so much bandage. It's almost like my chin was resting, on the top of this mass that was on my chest. And my husband said to me, he said, well, the surgeon said that your boobs are 2 totally different sizes, that he had to try like 21 different combinations of implants to get the right look. And they kept lifting me up to see what it looked like and then lowering me down. So it turned out I had one that was one size on one side, one that was another size on the other side to try to sort the whole situation out. And I'm going to tell you something. I was very clear with this surgeon that I want boobs that are a 36B. That's it. I'm talking baseball boobs. We're talking perky high school boobs here. By the time the swelling went down and I got the wrapping off and my implants finally settled in, what size do you think I was? 38 double D. Uh-huh. And I remember having these arguments with the surgeon where I would go, no, seriously, I just want like 36B. I just want like baseball size. And he kept going, I always have a lot of women come in here after the surgery and say they wish they had gone bigger. And I said, I promise you, I will never walk in here after this surgery and say, I wish we had gone bigger. I just want small, perky little things. I just don't want my boobs flapping against my stomach as I'm trying to have an intimate moment with my husband. I just don't want these skin sacs that look like half-filled water balloons to be hanging around my rib cage. I don't want to have to scoop it into my bra and like kind of tuck the folds of skin in there. Are you with me? I know I can feel some of you nodding along. And so when I looked in the mirror and they were like so huge, it's not what I asked for. It's not what I wanted. Clearly the surgeon had taken liberties in terms of deciding what he thought was the right balance for my frame and body. And it was horrible. I felt like my boobs came into the room before I entered the room. I immediately hated how they looked. I was super self-conscious because remember, I didn't want anyone to know. I wanted this to be like a subtle, all-natural thing. And I think it's kind of hard to say you want it to look all natural if you're going to put plastic objects in your own body, but it is what it is. It's 9 years ago. I knew this was absolutely a mistake. And this brings me to the first thing that I want to talk to you about. That when you regret a decision that you made, there is so much shame. And for me personally, I just was like, you're a freaking idiot, Mel. Because not only have you spent all this money doing this, but if you get them out after you've just elected to get them in, do you know how horrific your chest is going to look? You thought that you were actually self-conscious before this? Just imagine if you take these things out and now you've got Frankenstein-looking gym stocks with all kinds of scars and stuff all over it, and they're stretched out. So I just felt like I was the dumbest person. I hated how they looked. I felt heavier. I started dressing in bigger clothes. I started covering up my chest. I hated exercising. I don't know how the heck Pamela Anderson ever ran in that bathing suit with the boobs that she had, because I could not jog. Whenever I tried to do yoga, of any kind of twist, I'm like, what? Is that like a yoga block in my body? Like I can't get my elbow around that damn thing. And then over time, it went from mental complications and this feeling of regret to literally physical symptoms that I did not realize at the time were 100% caused by the implants. For example, I started experiencing all this numbness in my right arm and tingling on my pinky fingers and my elbow and under my armpit. My Raynaud's syndrome, which is a condition where your fingers and toes can turn white, it got horrible. Like when I would go to the grocery store, if I were to pull something out of a freezer, like, frozen French fries or, a thing of ice cream, my hands would turn bright white. So like circulation gone. I had a really hard time focusing. I mean, I'm talking more than usual. And I felt something was off. But I started going, is it premenopause? Is it something else? Is it just that I'm stressed out at work? And yet looking back, I know that my body was trying to tell me, get these freaking things out of here. And this is something that I didn't even realize. Like when you stick a foreign object in your body immediately sees it as a threat. And so in the case of an implant, what happens is your body creates what's called a capsule of scar tissue around the implant to try to protect your body from this foreign object. And so what was happening in my body is the capsule was getting so thick, it was pressing against my nerve endings. And the implant themselves, check this out, it started to freaking move. Like my cleavage was not this like kind of normal cleavage, but it started like an inch higher on the right side than it was on the left side. And here's the thing. I've done a lot of things in my life that I regret. And whether it's a one-night stand or drinking too much and behaving in a way that you are completely mortified by, or big financial decisions that I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? And I've done a good job of basically either ignoring what I've done or just trying to forget about it. But when the thing that you regret is actually in your body day in and day out, it's very hard to ignore it. And so I felt kind of ashamed that I was so insecure about my body that I'd paid all this money and now I had this train wreck on my chest. It's not like I was kidnapped and then drugged and then somebody stuck these in my body. I mean, I did this to myself. And then because I spent all my money on the surgery, I didn't have the money to try to get them removed. And then I also felt like if I get them removed, it's going to make the situation worse. And it's almost like, have you ever had this feeling that if you address it, then you're admitting that you made a big mistake? But if you kind of like just take a big breath and soldier forward, that it's not as big of a mistake as you know it actually is. And that's how I felt. And if you're in a situation where you now regret a decision that you did to yourself, like maybe you took the wrong job and you left a great job and now you regret it, or you got in a really unhealthy relationship that everyone was telling you, just stay away from that person, and now you're in it and you've tried to fix it because you know getting out of it means you have to admit that everyone else was right and you were right in your intuition as well, but you just ignored it. Or maybe you've buried yourself in credit card debt like Chris and I did, and you are so embarrassed about it that you don't even look for help on how you get out of credit card debt. Or a one-night stand where you're like, oh my God, I think I have to go get screened for venereal disease. What the hell was I doing? Or you break up with somebody and then you realize they were the person and now they've moved on. I mean, there are so many ways that you can find yourself in a situation like I did, where you see the decisions that you made. You see that you spent 6 months chasing somebody who clearly wasn't interested in you. They were just stringing you along, and you just kept on going along for the ride, ignoring your intuition. And I'm here to tell you that it is normal to make decisions that you're going to regret. And here's the huge mistake that you make, or at least I make this one, is that you think you have to navigate this alone. It's that shame and that sense that I did this to myself. I ignored my own intuition. I ignored common sense. I was a complete idiot. And then you isolate. And I'm here to tell you, do not, if you're struggling, face it alone. Staying silent about it makes it worse. The only way to get through a hard situation is to lean on other people, your family, your friends, medical professionals. It is not true that you're alone. You may feel alone. That's 1,000% how I felt. I felt alone in this struggle, and I was almost embarrassed to talk about it because I did it to myself. But here's what I want to highlight for both you and me. And this is what I would tell myself if I could time travel back 9 years ago to just after getting this in, which is, you're not stuck with this, Mel. Everybody makes mistakes. There is always a way. Your job is not to pound yourself into the ground for making a mistake. Your job is to find a way to make it better. Oh my gosh, I've never told you this story. The one about how I got breast implants and then everything went horribly wrong. It was like a 4-year ordeal. In life, you're going to make decisions you regret. I know I certainly have. And the second I got those implants, I knew I had made a huge mistake. Maybe you've been there too.